Greetings everybody, it's Jim. I'm just showing off my fantasy trip collection here. Not because you already know I like the fantasy trip, but it's because of the little guy on the top here. Bam, that guy. That is the original, of course, the idol from the first edition Player's Handbook that everybody knows and loves and stuff. And I got that. My brother got it for me for Christmas. He got it at GameStop. It was only $39.99, and it does light up like the flames right there and everything. Really cool looking. And the thing is, I don't think they have them anymore, and I don't know if they're reprinting them, bringing them back or anything like that. So this very well could be a collector's idol. It is actually a dice tower on the top too. You could take his head off and put dice in. It doesn't really work too well because I think they were worried about dice getting stuck in it, so it's not going to cascade and stuff like that. So I don't use it as that. I just use it as the idol itself, and that's just fine. But anyway, today we're going to be going over a game about demons. It is a game of where, you know, you're conjuring them up, and just like normal demon summoning, it does have its drawbacks and its dangers, of course, and they could be used against you and curse you at the same time. It is definitely a press your luck game, and I had a lot of fun with it, so let's go over it. Today, I'm going to be going over with you Demons from SPI. Alright, so one thing I want to make perfectly clear before I begin, when I just said a little bit ago when you normally summon demons, I meant in other games. I did not mean in real life. Just wanted to point that out there. Well, anyway, Demons, though, this game, is a game of demonic conjuration and treasure hunting. Okay, you're playing 1 to 4 players, and it does play solo, and it does it pretty well, actually. And it's based on the medieval and ancient manuscripts comprising what's called the Lehnketten. All right, you are taking the roles of magicians, questing after these treasures in medieval Armenia. And the mortal powers that be are trying to capture you, torture you, just to get your treasures or just plain to death. And that is the idea of the game. All right, so here we have the counter sheet here. Here we have all the demons. I'll go into these a little bit more in detail in a little bit. But for right now, I want to go down to this section and talk about the section that's on the right-hand side in the white. Those are the magician counters. Basically, you have 2 sets of counters for each magician. One of them is just saying whether they're hidden or they're found. They go on the regular map board. And then the ones that are dictating what shield level they are at, which is also not on the map, but it's on the game board. Okay, and it's very important to track the shield, and we'll get into that in a bit. Now, in the counters in blue here, there are only 13 units for the enemy on here, but they're enough to get around and, you know, be around the treasures and hunt you down. Now, it's either feast or famine with these guys. Some of them may have a powers of 1 to 4, but there's enough of them with 5, 6, and 7 that makes any time they find you very formidable. Even if you do have a lot of demons, and you're going to find out that how tricky it is to use these demons, as powerful as some of them may be. Alright, so here we are in the map, and you take your 1 to 4 players, and you start their magicians on the left side of the map. You're probably going to want to fight for some good real estate there to get on clear hexes, because you never know where the treasures are going to pop up. You know where they're going to be. They are predetermined, as you can see right here on the treasure discovery grid. When you get a demon to go find a treasure, you roll on the grid, and boom, boom, boom. Let's say you roll a 4-4, you get 0806. That's where it's going to show up. Yes, there is going to be one at 0806, you just don't know when it's going to pop up in the game. Okay, so there's that to consider. So you want to probably be on a map hex that doesn't have a lot of terrain. You do have 5 movement points per turn. The enemies always have 4, so you can generally outrun them if it wasn't for the fact that they are usually strategically placed all around where the blue dots are generally on the map that you see. Okay, and they're surrounding a lot of these places. They're making it so you can't get anywhere without them noticing you. And how they notice you is after every turn. If you are within 6 of any enemy, they roll a 6-sided die. And if you roll that many hexes or less of range, they find you and they start moving towards you that turn. Mind you, they have to do this every turn, but of course the closer you get to them, the more likely they are going to come back after you. And they tend to find you in 1s and 2s. You don't just find one guy and then all of a sudden, that you just have to deal with them. They usually find you multiple times. Now, when they find you, they don't really find you right away. When they get adjacent to you, they don't have to land on you. They just have to get adjacent to you. Then they get to try to discover you. Okay, and so they make a roll depending on their power, and they can find you. And if they find you, then combat has to happen. Okay, then you get into the nitty gritty of everything. You still might not be found, so you might get lucky. There's a bit of lucky die rolling that goes on into this game. There's no doubt about that. Now, as far as the demons go, let's go over about conjuring the demons and why this is so tricky. One thing I could definitely say right off the bat is one thing I didn't like about demons is, again, just like Boarding Party, I said it before, they had enough room on the map to put the charts and tables, and they didn't do it here either. And there's 4 charts, and they were very convenient to have there. They wouldn't have made it ugly or anything like that. There's plenty of room. They just didn't do it, and it's kind of annoying to me. But anyway, here's the conjuration table, and basically how it works is you can start with any level shield you want. As you can see, it goes from copper all the way up to gold, okay? If you have a gold shield, it pretty much means you have no problems conjuring demons whatsoever, with no worry about backlash. Okay, and of course, the lower you are, the more you have to worry about that. So let's look at copper, for instance. And Duke is the lowest level of demon that you can get. Okay, and we'll get into why this is important here later. But basically, you can what you do is you cross-reference what kind of demon you're trying to conjure up, and your shield level. So if you have a copper shield and you're trying to get a Duke, you have a 0, but that's just the modifier. So you roll a d6. That's how many demons you get. So you get anywhere from 1 to 6 Dukes, okay? And you pick the Dukes out, and they're all face down. They say Duke on the one side, and you pick them out, and they're yours, all right? Now, as you go up, of course, you can see how it makes it even. You get even more demons all at once if you have a higher shield. All right, now they say shield, it really doesn't protect you at all. It doesn't give you combat value. So it should really be considered an aura in some case, but they go with a shield in this. Now, why does it matter? Like, why wouldn't you want a king? Why is it so tough to get a king as opposed to Duke? Well, I mean, obviously it's because of the hierarchy, but what does that matter in gameplay wise? Well, it matters because what happens is, you can only have so many demons under your control depending on the highest rank demon you have. So otherwise, you can have Dukes. If you only have Dukes, you can only have a maximum of 2 of them. And that's it. Okay, if you have a prince, you can have a maximum of 3 demons. If you have a president, you can have a maximum of 4. And then if you have a king, you can have a maximum of 7. All right, so and that's pretty important because if you have a king and you have 7 demons, we can go back to that demon chart here. Oh, let me get that demon chart over here. Oh, get in there. Bam. Okay, and basically what it means is you can see their power level is on the bottom right. All right, and there's very few of them that have more than a power of 1. Okay, you just need, and there's some of them that have like there's one here that's 7. I mean, yeah, he's a king. But some of them have 3s, but generally they all have 1s, okay? So, and if you remember down here, here's their power, and of course it works just like any other combat results table. If it's even, it's going to be kind of a tough fight. Nobody's going to win or lose, and that works out for the magicians for the most part in this game. They want neutral results all the time. But basically, yeah, you need a lot of demons to actually be able to defend. Not that these demons are used for that purpose. Okay, but when you're caught and you don't want to get captured and stuff, because what happens when you get captured is your players will start to get tortured, and it's like a 1 in 3 chance that they'll lose a health point. Now, you get 4 health points in the game for each magician, and there's only 2 ways to lose them. 1, by getting tortured, and 2, by trying to summon too many demons. All right, so let's go back to the chart here. Where is the chart? There it is. And basically what will happen is, let's say you're trying to conjure, you have a Quicksilver, and you're trying to conjure a Maquis. That is going to be a -2. Let's say you roll a 1. So that's -2, so you're at -1. You've just gotten cursed. That's -1 hit point to you. You're closer to losing the game. You can lose the game right out. I mean, if you're trying to conquer a king and you have a -5, you better roll a 6, because otherwise you're pretty much dead. I mean, you only have 4 hit points, and there's no way to heal them in this game. All right, so this is where the pressure luck comes in. So you could start your shield any level in the game. So you might say, hey, why don't you just start with gold and have no problem? because to move up a shield level from where you start, it takes a turn to do so, and actually even takes a demon to do so. And then it's a slow crawl, so it's like, well, why don't you just start at the highest? The problem is the victory points are determined by the number of treasures you get, the amount of gold it's worth. All right. The problem is every level of shield above copper is a negative 15,000 gold penalty. Okay. So obviously, if you're going gold, you're already at a 75,000 detriment. So and the treasures are around 5,000 a piece. So you're really going to be up against it. Now the thing is, in the game, to win, you just have to be alive. That's the first thing, and get off the map board. And you have to actually just have more than your opponent. You could still be at a negative number and win the game. Okay, you would still be the most powerful conjurer. The idea, though, that the further you are from zero negative-wise is how much your soul you're losing, I guess you could say. And if you are actually in the game and you actually make it in the positive numbers, I guess that's some small miracle. That's the way I see it anyway, and it makes sense. So you are going to be at negative numbers in this probably no matter what you do. Okay, so when it also comes down to using demons, they are a one contract wish. Okay, basically you use them for their one purpose and they are gone. The only time they ever stick around is if they win, and I emphasize win in a combat, not draw, win. And then they'll stick around maybe for a little bit. But basically that means unless you're going up against scrubs, you don't want to waste them, because if you have like a supply of 7 demons that give you 7 power and you're in a battle and then all of a sudden you just draw, they're all gone. And then you're really in for it. So they are a very fickle bunch when it comes to combat. Now, as far as their abilities, they are actually much more useful for their abilities than they are at combat whatsoever. Basically, you use a demon to find a treasure on the map board, and then they're gone. You use that another demon to procure that treasure once you get to that point, once you travel there, and then they procure that treasure, then they're gone. You can use them to turn invisible if they have that power, then they're gone. You can use them if they have that power to make all the men in this one group fall in love with these crazy women and go back. They have to go back home to home base, travel there for a number of turns before they can reactivate and come back after you. That takes up power and such. There are a lot of powers here, and they are much more useful than anything in combat. Now you also notice some letters on some of these that have either a U for unfriendly or F for friendly. It just basically means that, like, if they're unfriendly, unless you have the Key of Solomon, which is one of the demons here that says Ring of Solomon on it, basically it's a duke. But it's actually a ring, and when you find that, it's kind of a treasure in its own right, and you can control the unfriendly demons. Basically, if you pick one of these unfriendly demons while you're summoning, they don't count, they just go away automatically. Boom, they're gone. Friendlies, if I'm recalling correctly, they don't count towards your the number of demons that you have. I think that's correct. I don't think they count against you. They're actually just an extra demon to have. And as I said before, a lot of these demons, if you're looking at the bottom right hand side, all of these generally have powers of 1 combat ratios. There's Palman up here with a 7, but I mean that's like one guy. You're generally, and some of them even have 0. So you're really not using these for combat, and it is a really sticky situation because you're constantly using the demons. And so, I don't see people actually using that small shield scenario unless they notice that they know that the other guys are going to be higher. The idea of having the small shield would maybe just going after one treasure and hoping everybody else ain't going to make it, and then just you go off and laugh, you got your one treasure and all these guys are doing all the work for nothing, and you just, laugh all the way to the bank, the demon bank, I guess you could say. So this game's pretty interesting because it is I see a lot of dastardly tricks in it as well, because basically it is a player speculation thing. Where you start with the shield's going to dictate a lot. You don't want to start too low necessarily. I'll get to that in a second. But to really be effective at the game and try to get any treasures, you got to be able to have some demons under your belt, or you're going to be in trouble quite quick. So you definitely want to have that. You are going to have a 15,000 gold penalty for each level of shield that you have. But then again, part of the game might might be, remember, you can be at negative and still win the game as long as you're ahead of everybody else. So you could basically start with the lowest shield possible and just not do a thing and say, yeah, I'm going to win by not doing anything. It's kind of like bidding $1 on The Price is Right. You know, you're just going to sit there and just go, I'm going to beat everybody by doing very little. You know, and then everybody else has picked higher shields and they have to get so many treasures, and you just sit back, sit pretty, sip on a margarita, and just wait for the game to end. Kind of cheesy, but I can see it happening. Also, another little cheesy thing that I think could happen, there is a limited number of demons in the game, and I can see somebody getting just far enough ahead that they get to the edge of the map board, where if you just walk off the edge of the map board, you're safe and you're done for the game. But you can just sit there once you feel like you're relatively safe from the other armies and just start conjuring demons like crazy and making their pool of demons that they get to choose from smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're just wasting them and just letting them go out of their contracts. Pretty interesting stuff. This is a game that goes for about maybe $30 to $40 online. If you're a collector, it's definitely worth it. You know, but if not, is it a game? It's a game I think you should play. Definitely, if somebody has it, you can download it online. Just download the rules and play it once or twice. They do have it on Tabletop Simulator. It's a newer version of it. Somebody re-upped the graphics on it. I'm not saying it's bad and stuff. I just really wish they would have just at least made an option for the original game for, you know, us old school aficionados and stuff like that, even though I do appreciate the new graphics. Anyway, guys, that is my review of Demons from SPI. You have a good one. I'll see you next video.